Deion Sanders calls for NFL-style salary cap in NIL era of college football. Colorado Buffaloes coach Deion Sanders is adding his voice to the growing debate around college football's name, image, and likeness, NIL era, arguing the sport should adopt a financial model more like the NFL's. In a new interview with USA Today's Jarrett Bell, Colorado coach Deion Sanders voiced support for a college football salary cap that mirrors the NFL's financial structure. The quote gained widespread attention on social media. There should be some kind of cap. Our game should emulate the NFL game in every aspect. Rules. Regulations. Whatever the NFL rules, the college rules should be the same. There should be a cap, and every team gets this. And you should be able to spend that. Kleiman's post quickly sparked a flurry of responses and renewed debate over how to fairly regulate name, image, and likeness, NIL, in the evolving college football landscape. Colorado HC Deion Sanders wants a NIL salary cap in college football. There should be some kind of cap. Our game should emulate the NFL game in every aspect. Rules. Regulations. Whatever the NFL rules, the college rules should be the same. There should be a cap, and every team gets this. And you should be able to spend that. Should there be a NIL salary cap? One user replied, I 100% agree. It should be a cap. It would be a higher cap for Power 4 compared to Group of 5S. And transfer portal should be a week after the national championship game and end before spring semester starts. In the two portal windows, another wrote, I agree, but how would you regulate money being paid off the books? It would basically just go back to paying players under the table and leaving money in hotel rooms, etc. Like before NIL. The online responses reflects an uncertainty about how NIL can be fairly managed. While many support Sanders' call for structure, others question whether regulation is even realistic in a system where off-the-books deals have long existed. For Sanders, that concern ties directly into what he sees as a growing gap between elite programs and everyone else, a divide driven not by coaching or development, but by financial muscle. Earlier this spring, Coach Prime made headlines for proposing that teams should be allowed to scrimmage other programs during spring games, a concept that Syracuse head coach Fran Brown embraced. But the NCAA shut it down, citing concerns over a competitive and recruiting advantage. For Sanders, that response only underscores a deeper issue. The competitive advantage is the school that has hundreds of millions of dollars, and not us, Sanders told Bell. You look at who's always in the playoffs. You can look at their budget and look at this budget. That's the advantage. Not who has the autonomy to do a spring game. He also criticized the NCAA for its lack of leadership as the NIL era continues to unfold. Coach Prime has often been at the center of the debate, not just for his outspoken views, but because of the culture he has built in Colorado. His unapologetic flash, custom shades, and camera-ready program have drawn admiration and criticism. Even 17-year-old freshman quarterback Julian "Juju" Lewis, a recent Colorado commit, has already been in the spotlight for reportedly cashing in on NIL deals before playing a single college snap. To Sanders, the backlash doesn't fall on the players. It's a failure of oversight from the top. There's a lot going on in college football, and the NCAA has just washed their hands and they walk away, Sanders said. As long as they collect those checks, they walk away instead of saying, okay, we've got to do something about this. Because if you don't, it's going to keep spiraling. Sanders' comments come as the landscape of college athletics braces for more change. The recent House v. NCAA settlement is set to reshape college sports in a major way. Beginning in the 2025-26 academic year, Division I schools will be allowed to share up to $20.5 million each year with their athletes directly. This groundbreaking change essentially marks the start of college players being treated and paid like professionals. It's a significant development that brings urgency to Sanders' argument. If players are being compensated like pros, it's also time for the system to adopt a professional-level structure. While NIL has created new opportunities for athletes to profit from their brands, critics argue that the system lacks structure and has only deepened the competitive divide. Coach Prime's proposal for a spending cap echoes a growing sentiment that college football needs more uniformity and regulation, or it risks becoming even more chaotic. Shedeur Sanders' controversy dissected. Experts weigh in, like NFL scouts who have evaluated Shedeur Sanders. Academics have studied the controversy around him. Where it starts. The son of Deion Sanders and quarterback from Colorado is the most polarizing player in the draft that starts Thursday, triggering vastly different opinions. He's a bust. He's NFL ready. He's arrogant. Back and forth they go, the critics and supporters, creating a cacophony and opportunity for academics to address race, fame, wealth, and other issues, stoking emotion among fans and analysts voicing opinions about Sanders. Whether his arm is strong enough, his feet are quick enough, his grasp of defensive formations firm enough, those issues have been debated and will be dissected more. What's left is to better understand why people react strongly to Sanders and what it says about us. Breaking the quarterback mold. Cheryl Cookie is a professor at Purdue University who studies the intersections of gender, sports, culture, and the media. When talking about Shedeur Sanders, she brought up NFL history. She pointed out that 2023 was the first time the Super Bowl featured two black starting quarterbacks in Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs and Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're 100-plus years in the history of this league, she said. I think that's important context for understanding what's happening and dynamics playing out. Breaking from the mostly conservative mold of quarterback, Sanders has flashed his luxury watch during games. He's also sported diamond necklaces. It's similar to his father, Deion, one of the most flamboyant and outspoken players in NFL history of Shedeur Sanders' style, Cookie said. For a black quarterback to be acting in ways that sort of violate norms and expectations gets policed even more so than I think if this was a black player in another position or a white quarterback, for example. She also brought up ESPN's Ryan Clark, who faced backlash after he said race was behind NFL evaluators anonymously criticizing Sanders for such things as being arrogant and brash. Said Cookie, Ryan Clark making these comments 5 years ago. It'd be interesting to see what the response would have been at that particular moment when the political landscape was slightly different than what it is today. Comparisons to Arch Manning. Todd Boyd, the notorious PhD at Southern California, is an expert in sports media and American pop culture. In considering the treatment of Sanders, he contemplated a future situation. It'll be interesting to watch how Arch Manning is covered, he said. Manning, unlike Sanders, does not have a famous father, but he has two famous uncles, Peyton and Eli, and a legendary grandfather, Archie. They comprise the first family of football and may help better understand the dynamic around Shedeur. Arch Manning, who is expected to start this season, spent the last 2 years primarily on the bench. Yet, Boyd noted, Arch Manning has gotten ample favorable attention. The reason he's getting that kind of attention is because of his last name, and I've not found anybody who's had a problem with that, he said. Being the son of Deion Sanders has not always translated into favorable attention. Deion moves through the world too easily for some people's liking, Boyd said. Also, Boyd noted that for many years the narrative for black athletes was they were underprivileged and success in athletics was their singular way out. We have a generation of black athletes now who don't fit that stereotype, and Shedeur certainly doesn't fit that, Boyd said. I think some people might be slow to recognize this change, and there may be others who are potentially put off by it. Shades of Angel Reese. Angela Hattery, co-director of the Center for the Study and Prevention of Gender-Based Violence at the University of Delaware, has written extensively about sports. Hattery, in thinking about Sanders, said she's reminded of Angel Reese entering 2024 WNBA draft along with her rival, Caitlin Clark. There were a lot of haters of Angel Reese, and everybody loved Caitlin Clark, and they're both really great players, Hattery said. But Angel didn't want to play the good girl. She cultivated a very different image. Similarly, Sanders has not conformed to the image of a traditional quarterback. Black men have to fit in a much smaller box, Hattery said. There's just a lot of evidence for that we still require black men to behave certain ways. And we prefer as a society that they behave in ways that are more normative white. We're more comfortable with President Barack Obama, for example, than we are with black men who are more audacious or more flashy. Some racist tendencies. Jay Coakley, the author of Sports and Society, Issues and Controversies, cited President Donald Trump as a factor in some of the controversial views of Sanders. In particular, Trump setting a policy captured by this quote, "We will terminate every diversity, equity, an inclusion program across the entire federal government. Trump has raised this issue where if you're not a white man and you're getting publicity, it's somehow unjustified, Coakley said. Is Louisiana the new Texas? Bayou State producing elite NFL talent. As a result, Coakley suggested, it's understandable how Sanders has become controversial to some people. If there's a fan who's got some racist tendencies, they're going to make that connection and they're going to say, this is a typical flashy black athlete, and I just don't go for them, Coakley said. And so race comes in that way. But I seriously doubt that somebody's going to talk about race in a very explicit way for fear that they're going to be attacked.